Alright, there we go. Welcome to the next part of How to Survive a Horror Movie. How to survive a night of babysitting. In the real world, babysitting is a groovy way for young people to learn responsibility and earn a little pocket money. In the Terrorverse, it's a plot device used to kill teenagers. Babysitters are the juiciest of all slasher bait, more attractive than drunk grave diggers or horny campers. As we've learned, horror flicks, especially slashers, are made for teenage ticket buyers, and teens can identify with the tensions of babysitting. You're away from home, you can't bail at the first sign of trouble. Devils and angels duke it out on your shoulder. Don't get high tonight. Come on, invite him over, he's so cute. And then what happens? The power goes out. You try the phone. Nothing. Suddenly you remember that news report about a string of murders, footsteps upstairs, kids missing from their beds. And faster than you can say closed casket, you're join a long list of sliced up sitters, unless... Oh, that's awesome, man. Congrats. Know when to say no. If you have a brain in your head, the answer is always no. In horror movies, babysitting is basically suicide at $7 an hour. It's a dangerous game, and to quote one of my favorite passages from the book of Joshua, the supercomputer in war games, not the apostle. The only way to win is to not play. And yet, for many teenagers, the desire for extra mall cash is stronger than the will to live. Therefore, it's important that whippersnappers be able to distinguish the really, really dangerous babysitting jobs from the 100% chance of getting your throat sliced open. Babysitting jobs. If the offer includes any of the following, turn it down. It's guaranteed to be a death sentence. It's more than 2 blocks from home. Anything beyond shouting or sprinting distance is too far. There's a storm in the forecast. Thunderstorms equal power or phone outages and opportunities for the director to use the old lightning flash reveals the killer in the window bit. Snowstorms equally broken down vehicles and easily followed tracks. One of the children is blind, deaf, or mute. It seems cruel, but remember, this isn't the real world. In horror movies, children with some kind of sensory deprivation or disability are often portrayed as creepy. There's an escaped blank on the loose. Any noun you can imagine in the blank space is reason enough to skip the gig, with the possible exception of pony. Make your employer sign a babysitting rider. A rider is a contract that specifies a list of perks. A smart sitter will craft one that ensures maximum survivability. Only work for employers who meet its terms. Some suggestions to pass along to your lawyers. Power. Employer will provide a fully fueled backup generator that can be started without leaving the house or going to the basement. Communication. If babysitter attempts to contact employer's cell phone at any time and gets no answer, babysitter has the right to abandon the kids and run home. Yeah, that's about right. When babysitting, you must transform your client's pleasant suburban home into an impregnable fortress. Punctuality. If the employer is more than 60 seconds late for the agreed return time, babysitter has the right to abandon the kids and run home. Temptation. Employer will leave no unlabeled videos, alcohol beverages, pornographic materials, or anything that might tempt babysitter into committing lewd, unsavory, or potentially curse-invoking behaviors anywhere in the home. Security. Employer will provide doors and windows that can be securely locked from the inside, and professionally installed security systems, and at least 2 easily accessible, fully loaded firearms. Fuck yeah, I wish that was a thing when I was a babysitter. Build a fortress. With no storms in the forecast, no escaped mental patients, and the news and your parents within shouting distance, and assuming your employer has met all terms of your rider, the babysitting can begin. But before you can even think of making the kids a snack, priority 1 is turning a small area of the house into an impregnable fortress. This is a no in or out zone. Usually includes a kitchen, living room, and at least 1 bathroom. and never encompasses more than one floor. Start by closing, and if possibly locking, all the doors on the edge of your perimeter and hanging little bells on the knobs. Confirm that all windows are closed shut, any drapes or blinds, and turn on every light within reach. Next, turn the TV on and turn it to a local station in case there are any breaking reports of nearby murders, escapes, or storms. If the basement door falls within your parameter, nail at least 3 big wooden planks across it. Finally, set the alarm, check the phone for a dial tone, and tether yourself to each child with a length of rope. Know your harbingers of impending doom. Boobies! Not the seabirds found primarily near warm waters. The fatty deposits that grace the chests of mature human females. Jugs, melons, and while it's hard to imagine anything bad coming from something so good, there's an unfortunate horror movie phenomenon. Titsonics that turns boobies into bouncing death traps. In the Terrorverse, young women's breasts emit a high-frequency sound, measured in mammohertz, that only horror movie villains can hear. The sound attracts them, not because they want to peek, but because they know that naked breasts indicate the presence of at least one highly distracted or highly vulnerable victim. The bigger the boobies, the louder the noise, and when those boobs are squeezed, say by the fumbling hands of a young male, they get louder still. Therefore, the only safe boobies are untouched, well-covered boobies, and well-covered means buried beneath enough clothes to muffle their sound, i.e., no tank tops. In fact, the ideal outfit for a young woman would be a parka over a ski jacket, or 2 sweaters over 2 bras. Fuck that. And with nipples duct taped for good that's just mean. But take heart, ladies. The moment you hit 23, your titsonic profile becomes dramatically lower, and once you have a kid, it disappears forever. Don't do anything even remotely irresponsible. The minute you take your eyes off those kids, the minute you choose indulgence over vigilance, you're dead. Here's a rule of thumb. If you wouldn't do it in front of the parents, don't do it. Some common babysitting pitfalls include hot chocolate. Dressing conservatively, left, will guarantee a long, prosperous life. But put on a low-cut top, right, and you're screwed. What? What are you talking about? What the fuck? What did I... Sinister, why do you people do this while I'm in the fucking stream? I don't know what you were pinging, so okay. Because it won't let me see. Inviting your boyfriend or girlfriend over, raiding the liquor cabinet, watching the parents' porn collection, using the phone for endless personal gossip-filled calls, leaving the kids to entertain themselves. 5. Never, ever, ever answer the phone, regardless of what the caller ID says. Let it ring. If it's the parents, they'll leave a message. If it's one of your friends, you shouldn't be chatting with them anyway. But we both know it's not the parents or your friends. Why? Because this is a horror movie. And in a horror movie, it's always the killer, who is always calling from another part of the house. Your screenwriters are begging for you to answer the call. They need you to answer it, so their villain can send chills down your spine with some clever one-liner. All the more reason to let it go to voicemail. 6. Check your curiosity at the door. What I really mean is stupidity. Check your stupidity at the door. Here are 3 situations you might face during the night of babysitting, each with the soon-to-be-dead curious person and the might make it to the end credits incurious person's response. One of the windows is rattling. Curious person, you decide to check it out, despite the fact that you swear you remember closing it. Incurious person, you set the house on fire, abandon the kids, and run home screaming. Child disappears. Curious. Panicked, you search every nook and cranny of the house while calling out their names. Incurious. You continue reading your Bible and wait for them to turn up. God, I love this book. Someone knocks on the door, asking to use the phone to report an accident. Curious. You open the door, a crack, and get a better look at the stranger. Incurious. You empty a full clip through the door, reload it, open it, and empty another clip into whoever or whatever is lying motionless on the front porch. And that's what I would do to anyone that comes to my house. How to stay awake for a week. Staying awake and staying alive are often synonymous in horror movies. Perhaps your dreams have become the killing fields of a demonic slasher. Maybe you've been stranded on an alien-infested planet or cornered in a house that is surrounded on all sides by zombies. In any case, not an ideal situation, or not an ideal time to hop on the choo-choo to Sleepy Town. And since there's no telling when the rescue party may arrive, or when it'll be safe to dream again, a horror movie survivor has to be able to push the outer limits of sleep deprivation. Believe it or not, the world record for going without sleep is held by a teenager named Randy Gardner in 1964. He stayed awake for 264 straight hours, exactly 11 days. All you're required to do is a measly 7. And if you follow these steps, you might just make it. Oh, I'm glad that you're enjoying it, guys. Try to jumpstart a montage. What's the easiest way to stay awake for a week? Make it fly by in the span of a single upbeat song. Musical montages aren't common in horror movie universe, but they aren't out of the question either. After all, this is still a movie, and in movies, it's possible to condense lots of events and time into short series of illustrative shots, one dissolving into the next. Since these shots are rarely accompanied by dialogue, they're usually set to music, a song that'll boost sales of the soundtrack, for instance. Oh, thank you so much. So, how do you force the filmmaker into using one? Easy. There are 2 main categories for montages: the prep and the honeymoon. The prep follows a character as he or she studies or trains for some nearly impossible task, usually a school test or a sporting event. The honeymoon. The honeymoon tracks a relationship through its early days, holding hands in the park, painting their first apartment. Oh look, they're splashing each other with paint! And so on. Therefore, there are 2 main methods of jump-starting a montage. Start a new romance. Don't be picky. You're not choosing a life partner, just someone who will stick with you through the Mariah Carey ballad. Get in way over your head. If you're never thrown a punch before, sign up for a boxing match. If you're on the shallow end of the IQ pool, challenge a Nobel laureate to a battle of wits. In other words, totally screw yourself into spending the next 5 minutes of the movie in a series of gyms or libraries. I'm gonna grab the next song. I'm gonna grab more of these. 2. Be prepared for sleep deprivation. If your efforts to jumpstart a montage fall flat, you might just have to do this the hard way, by staying awake for 7 days, and if that's the case, you'll need to know what to expect as the hours pass. Diminish problem-solving skills. You might want to schedule those Mensa exams for another week. Again, let me know if the music's too loud, everybody. Irritability. That's right. I said you're being a total dick. Now what are you going to do about it? Diminish motor skills. Is it getting harder to turn the page? Difficulty focusing your eyes? If you've waited too long to read this section, it probably looks like this. Short-term memory loss. As you become more and more sleep deprived, you might experience... As you become more and more sleep deprived... Oh, I see what they're doing. You might experience some memory loss. Screw you for a minute. Paranoia. I'm watching you read this book. Right now, at this very second. I'm always watching. We're all watching. Hallucinations. In extreme cases of sleep deprivation, a person might become convinced that hey, why is my hand that flying dog thing from Neverending Story? Ooh, it's getting a bit loud. Okay, that's what I figured. Yeah, this song has a weird way of doing that. There we go, that should be better. I have to get some more ambience music. probably after the con. 3. Combine stimulants. When you're pulling an all-nighter during finals, you can get by on a cocktail of coffee, energy drinks, and diet pills. But that time-honored combo is only reliable up to about, say the 36-hour mark. Once you cross the 2-day barrier, relying on mass quantities of caffeine and sugar just doesn't cut it. To make it to the finish line, you'll need to drop the sugar altogether. Sure, it lights you up for a little while, but it also sends you plummeting into the depths of sleepiness afterwards. You'll also need to strictly regulate your caffeine intake, taking small doses throughout the day and night, as opposed to a few gigantic doses, which also lead to sleepy crashes. Then you'll need to combine these artificial pick-me-ups with more natural forms of avoiding bedtime. Temperature. You know that wonderful feeling when you're snuggled under the warm covers on a cold winter's night? Well, it'll kill you. Keep as cool as possible, even if it means standing in the refrigerator or pouring ice cubes down your pants. Light. This is especially important in the Terraverse, where the vast majority of the day is shrouded in darkness. Try to remain in bright lit areas at all times, and avoid windows like the plague. The goal is to throw off your body's internal clock. Man, I'm already ahead of you on that one. Movement. Just as a rolling stone gathers no moss, a moving person gets no sleep. Discomfort. Don't cut off your eyelids or anything. Although that might do the trick. Try the discomfort associated with holding it in. Make sure to drink plenty of water and keep your kidneys busy. And don't worry, all that caffeine will take care of everything else. I'm currently drinking my energy. Eat right. And eat often. Just as it's vital to regulate your caffeine intake, it's important to keep your metabolism even. As opposed to riding the 3-meal roller coaster, ever wonder why you get that food coma after a big meal? It's because your body is transferring its energy to digesting. And that big lump of takeout you shove past your gums, instead of eating small, long energy meals around the clock, focus on food that provides a steady stream of power, namely complex carbohydrates, pastas, grains, and proteins, meats. Oh, does it? Let me see. I'll have to be careful with that, sorry. Let me see if I can fix that 1 second. I can do that. That should help. I am sorry, nobody told me that one before. There you go, is that better? Is that good? I know you guys can see a little bit of the poster in the background, which is baller! Everyone at Spooky this year can grab one. Well, no, I don't have the money to make that many prints. Unless we get a lot of donations. There we go. Sorry about that. Hide in the deleted scenes. If you feel like you're not going to make it, if you can't go another day without grabbing some shut-eye, hide in the deleted scenes. After shooting, editors delete scenes that prove unnecessary. Perhaps because they do nothing to move the story forward, feature poor performances, or simply run too long. Therefore, you should try to spend all your time being as pointless and unconvincing and long-winded as possible. Let me make sure that's okay for you guys. There we go, that should be fine. You know what? Let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger. How does that look for you guys? That looks a bit better for you. Let me know if it cuts off again. Now I'm just checking it. Yeah, okay, you should be fine now. Ejection seat. The jarringly good dialogue. Should you take yourself in the clutches of certain death, fangs at your neck, knife to your throat, there are only 4 proven methods of making a last-minute escape. Methods called ejection seats because they're drastic last resort in nature. Also, we're on page 69. I'm a mature adult. Ejection seat 2 is the jarringly good dialogue. The JGD works by delivering a line that's far too lyrical or thought-provoking for a horror movie. Delivering such a line temporarily paralyzes the killer as he waits for further instructions from the screenwriter, whose ego has shattered after realizing that they never could have written something that good. Don't worry, nobody's expecting you to pluck Shakespeare out of thin air. Simply memorize one of these classic movie lines and keep it handy for the occasion. In all the gin joints and all the towns and all the world, she walks into mine. Casablanca, my favorite movies. Old age, it's the only disease, Mr. Thompson, that you can't look for a ward to being, old age. It's the only disease, Mr. Thompson, that you can't look forward to being cured of, Citizen Kane. A man who tells lies like me merely hides the truth. But a man who tells half lies has forgotten where he put it. Another good movie, Lawrence of Arabia. Horror has a face, and you must make a friend of horror. Oh, that's a good one. Apocalypse Now. That one actually had, like, if you know about that movie, the actual filming of that thing was a horror in itself. So, should we move on to chapter 3, or should we leave that for next time, everybody? What would you guys like? Chapter 3. Inanimate Evil. The man-made instruments of death. Mr. Halloran, you know, some places are like people. Some shine and some don't. The Shining, good movie. Sorry. Most of our horror movie enemies are people. Slashers, vampires, zombies, and ghosts. All are or were human beings. Even aliens and demons fall under the sentient being umbrella. But sometimes evil has no flesh. Sometimes it lurks, not in the hearts of men. If you get that reference, you are welcome to the channel. But in the bricks and mortar, chrome and steel, antique tea sets, inanimate enemies can be even harder to defeat than their able-bodied counterparts. You ever try to stab a 3-bedroom colonial? Believe me, it's not that effective. I love the art for this so much. I always forget the art. It's too bad it's a little blurred because of how they scan this. How to survive a haunted house. In the old days, spawning a haunted house was a piece of cake. It was always the creepy Victorian with the unmowed lawn and the freakishly large weather vane. Is that the thing that looks like a bird at the top of the thing? But that was then. In the modern Terrorverse, it doesn't matter if the house is falling apart or brand spanking new, sitting atop a graveyard hill or shoehorned into an exclusively gated community. Any combination of wood, concrete, and paint can be haunted, and for that reason, every horror movie homeowner should know what to do in the event of a ghost or poltergeist infiltration. Remember, in horror movies, you don't gut the interior. The interior guts you. Let's see. You guys still able to see it? Yes, you are. Confirm the house is haunted. Just because your zip code is 00666 doesn't mean you have to run screaming every time the floorboard creaks. Even in the Terrorverse, sometimes a strange noise is just a strange noise. On the other hand, sometimes it's a portal to a dimension of unspeakable evil. To help homeowners tell the difference between the two... Try that one again. To help Fuck me, why is that that is the word I'm getting caught on, really? To help homeowners tell the difference, 2 professors at the University of Eastern West Berlin, Dr. Brenton Sableko and Eric Doche, came up with their famous question of the 10 questions in 1964 homeowners simple circle yes or no after each question. If you answer yes to 3 or more questions, you can conclude beyond any reasonable doubt that your house is haunted. Proceed to step 2 immediately. Everyone get out your notes. Let's find out what you got. Come on. Question 1. Do your faucets or shower heads bleed? Question 2. Did the previous owners die as a result of a murder or suicide? Question 3. Does the furniture rearrange itself when you aren't looking? Look, you can haunt here, but don't you fucking touch my furniture. 4. When you reach into the refrigerator, does your arm appear in another house? 5. Are there Civil War era children playing in your attic? Yeah, I keep telling them to shut up, but they just don't listen. 6. Does the house issue verbal or written warnings? 7. Does the temperature suddenly plummet if you discuss remodeling? 8. Do you feel more compelled to murder your family with an axe than usual? 9. Are Native Americans constantly showing up to ask what happened to our cemetery? Or 10. Did the house contain any candelabras? Really? 10? Candelabras? Okay. If you have a candelabra, everybody get it out of there. Just checking. Once you've confirmed the haunting, leave immediately. There are 2 things you can't change in this world. A husband who lets the dishes pile up, and a haunted house. Both lead to nothing but frustration, fear, and eventually a gruesome death. If the 10 questions come back positively for a haunting, get out and don't pack up your things. Don't go for one last dip in the half-finished swimming pool. Run now. I don't know, my ghost is pretty good with interior design. 3. Escape on an x-axis. If the y-axis measures something vertical, position the x-axis refers to the horizontal location. Now, this is the next point is very important. I hope you're all ready for math. Inside a haunted house, moving along the y-axis gets you killed. If you're upstairs, do not go downstairs. If you're downstairs, do not go upstairs. Zigzag to your heart's content. Run around in circles. Whatever you do, maintain altitude. If you're on the 2nd floor of the haunted house, crash through the nearest window. In fact, do the same thing if you're on the 1st floor. Yes, you'll probably get hurt, but cuts and bruises are better than having your soul sucked into purgatory with a bunch of dead people who lost their road map to hell. Okay. This is when the book starts getting weird. 4. Be on the alert for common haunted house trickery. You're eager to leave, but the house is just as eager to keep you around. Once it realizes you're trying to escape, it'll throw every trick in the bag at you. Endless hallways, a classic. As you run towards the door to salvation, the hallway comes longer, and possibly long. Countermeasure. A burst of willpower. It's usually all it takes. But closing your eyes is an easier way to neutralize the effect. Just stick your arm out and feel your way down the hall. 0 gravity room. You're dragged up the walls by some unseen force. Countermeasure. Easy. Sing Lionel Richie's Dancing on the Ceiling and act like you're having the time of your life. The house will vomit you out the front door. Guaranteed. Coffin whack-a-mole. All the coffins from the graveyard you so rudely built a house on start shooting up through the floor. If you get this one too, good job. Countermeasure. Inappropriate. Grope the corpses. Turn it into necromantic. Inappropriately grope the corpses. The house will vomit you out the front door. See, haunted houses, they don't like sexual advances like that. Just don't. The reappearance of a dead friend/child. As the house becomes desperate, it'll deliver some low blows. The most common is recreating someone who's recently died. Mommy? Where are you going? Why are you leaving us? Why are you leaving me? Countermeasure. If the house isn't pulling any punches, neither should you. Address the person in front of you as the house, and tell it something that will set it off. Something like, you should know, I've been sleeping in a condo. Wow, that's just mean. Do not go back inside. If you do manage to escape, don't look back. Keep running, no matter how many screams echo through the night, and no matter how fun it might be to watch the house fold itself into the point of light, no bigger than the period at the end of this sentence. Never, ever go back, unless it's for the dog. And the guinea pigs. Those are the 2 you're allowed to go back for. Write that down, the cat will be fine. Evil and cats go together. What to do when the evil vehicle wants you dead. I already know what we're going to get a reference to. Alright guys, go ahead and get your horror movie car jokes out there. The engine purrs, the door locks, and Martha and the Vandalas Nowhere to Run crackles over the radio. Just one little problem. You haven't put the key in the ignition yet. Cars and trucks are dangerous enough when someone behind the wheel. When they start driving themselves, you might as well give Helen Keller a bazooka. In horror movies, once a vehicle becomes self-aware, there's only one thing it wants in its tank: blood. And until it's topped off, or sent back to the scrap heap from hell, no one's safe. It won't break down, it won't misjudge a corner, and it definitely won't stop until everything in its path is roadkill. If you're in the vehicle, get the hell out. Cars and trucks can take punishment that would turn the human body into a bag of liquefied organs. Knowing this, the naughty ones often go kamikaze, locking their prey inside and kissing a telephone pole at 90 miles an hour. Result? They get towed and you get buried. If you're trapped inside stationary evil vehicle, use anything you can to smash a window, climb out, and run. However, in a more likely event that the vehicle is moving, you're going to have to smash that window and jump for it before you become a permanent part of the steering column. 1. Apply the emergency brake. This might slow you down slightly, assuming the vehicle lets you engage the brake. If it's a manual transmission, you can try downshifting. But don't get your hopes up. Most evil vehicles don't accept user input. 2. Jump perpendicular to the direction of the car. Don't fling yourself under the rear tires, which would be counterproductive to your survival. 3. Aren't you supposed to aim? Yeah, I see what they're saying. 3. Aim for the forgiving landing site. Grass, sand, a tall brush are more preferable than the pavement. Anything's preferable to a tree trunk. 4. Tuck and roll. As you fly through the air, pull your arms, legs, and head close to your chest. When you hit the ground, roll to dissipate the energy on impact. That one I've actually done in real life. That one you actually do want to do, trust me. I've done it from a moving vehicle. 2. If you're not in the vehicle, scan your immediate surroundings. You may be safe from spilling your brains all over the dash, but you can still be rammed, crushed, and run over. So take a quick look around. Is there anything to shelter you from the attack? Things that will provide high protection from evil vehicles. High ground. This might come in from a steep, gravel-covered hill, clifftop, or rooftop, preferably one that's attached to a sturdy building. When pursued by an evil vehicle, seek safety in water. Flood that fucking engine. Ejection seat 3. Let me make sure you guys are seeing it fine. Okay. The awkward product placement. Should you find yourself in the clutches of certain death, fangs at your neck, knife at your throat, there are only 4 proven methods of marking a last-minute escape. Methods called ejection seats because of their drastic last-minute nature. Ejection seat 3. This is the awkward product placement. If the hero's favorite beer, chances are the brand has just written a big check to the producers. Product placement is a much-loved means of padding a movie's budget, but the filmmakers usually take great care to keep it subtle. After all, you can't have your characters making obvious pitches. I call bullshit on that. Look at any of the Transformers movies. If you find yourself cornered by the horror villain, try buying precious time with the clumsiest, cheesiest advertisement you can imagine. Doing so will confuse your attacker and maybe, just maybe, allow you to escape. Let me see quickly how long this chapter is. Okay, so it's a little bit. Okay, so we'll finish that page and then we're going to call it on this for today. Things that won't provide protection from evil vehicles. Single-family homes. Anything with the wooden frame can be breached by an evil vehicle. Chain link fences. In movies, chain link fences might as well be rice paper with a bullseye on it. Utility poles and radio towers. They certainly qualify as high ground, but they're too flimsy, especially if your pursuer is an evil truck or a construction vehicle. Alright, so that's where we're going to leave it. We'll come back to this the next time.